No, it's a good question. I mean, I think obviously when people think of working at Google, they think it's like a big glamorous organization. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there's a huge amount of benefits, and I have a lot of fond memories, and I was working with some really inspiring and talented people. But in terms of working conditions, because I'm based in the Philippines, I was working night shift. So typically my day would start at 9 p.m. And usually finish at 5 a.m. And during that time, sometimes I would have like 6, 7 hours of like back-to-back meetings almost as well, with maybe 1 or 2 hours break in between, and then having to kind of switch between all of these different meetings, like be on top of tasks and be really high functioning at that time of day every single day for 5 years was challenging. And I felt that just from like a mental and physical perspective, it took its toll on me. I mean, when I started the job, I think I was like 31, I guess. But within those 5 years, every year after 30, as a man, your body does start to get slightly worse each year, and I could just feel like my energy levels dropping over time. And it's not fun when you wake up and then you've got like 1 or 2 hours of sunlight and then it's dark. Waking up early afternoon. So it's not necessarily about the company, it was more just the conditions, as to kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to leave. It was more that quality of life is more important to me than necessarily the company that I work for. And don't get me wrong, it was my dream for like 8 years to work at Google, and it was cool while it lasted. But then once you're already there and in it and doing it, like the novelty factor wears off. And like for me, what's important is having a good routine, but also working somewhere where you're valued, but also you have a good work-life balance as well. And I think before, I never even really wanted to leave cloud in the first place, but obviously that opportunity came up, and I was grateful for it, and I was grateful that there was an opportunity around this time when I wanted to come back as well, because I was looking to leave Google, but I knew that I didn't want to work night shift again. I knew that I didn't want to go back to the UK, because I like living in the Philippines, and as an expat here, there's quite limited amounts of opportunities at different companies or for different jobs. So it was just kind of good timing, really, that I reconnected with Andy over Christmas, and we started talking about it, and yeah, now I'm back again, and I've gone full circle. But yeah, as I said, it wasn't really that I didn't enjoy working there. It's just doing that for 5 years, I felt like I needed a change. And there's also this concept of like at Google, you're one in 180,000 people, and also you're never really safe there, just because obviously they did do a lot of layoffs before. Some of my team members got laid off, who I'd been working with, and they'd been at the company for a long period of time. So you don't necessarily always have job security at Google either, even though the benefits are great. But yeah, it was just after 5 years of doing it, I just felt like I did it, and I needed a new challenge. And I felt like it was better to get that somewhere else, really. And obviously working at cloud as well, like with Google, my manager, I mean, I never met any of my managers. I mean, I met the first one once when I went to like Argentina, but all of my managers were based overseas. So I had a Brazilian manager, an Argentinian manager, and then I had a American manager. But my last two managers I never met in person, and then most of my teammates were based in either like Toronto or South America or California. So it was very much a distributed team, and I don't mind working from home, but there would be like no kind of camaraderie or kind of like team bonding, especially as I was there during the pandemic. So there were no opportunities really for us to meet up in person, as Google just kind of completely cancelled travel from 2020 onwards. Whereas now that I've been back at cloud, obviously we go into the office like once a week at least, get to hang out with like other British people like Andy and Steph and AJ, and there's a good kind of chemistry between us, and obviously yourself and Seb are all British as well, so it feels like more of a community and maybe more of a family environment. So it just like I would say that I enjoy the team spirit more in cloud compared to what it was like at Google. Being alone like constantly, I read an article saying that it's like worse than smoking, or it's as bad as smoking cigarettes or something in terms of your health. I'm not sure like if that's true or not, but yeah, it's hard. I mean, even at Google, we did like towards the end we did start going back to the office occasionally, but then because it was night shift, there were very few people on the night shift, so there was only like one or two other people in the office, and then we've all got our own individual meetings, so it was still pretty much like working alone even though I was going to the office. Whereas yeah, now being back at cloud, it's much better, it's much more social. We have team outings and stuff with the staff as well. So it's definitely a big factor, but I also feel like what we do at cloud is inherently beneficial to society, because I mean, if you think about the number of staff that we have, the number of developers, and how many family members they have, who are also depending on them for their salaries, who also get benefits in terms of the healthcare and the insurance that we provide. We're making a big difference to society here. So it's kind of like from a professional perspective, when you're working for a company like Google, it's kind of all you're really doing is helping the stockholders become wealthier. And obviously, like, Google is a great service and has a lot of benefits to society as well. But I feel like it's more tangible in terms of how you're helping people at cloud. In terms of like helping Filipinos on the ground have employment and helping their families. So that's also like a motivation for me. It's like I want to do something meaningful that's beneficial to society in some way.